WandaVision episode 8 has aired, and yet again, it has blown all of our minds and pushed further into some explanations, but also into some ridiculous questions as far as what exactly is going on with Wanda and potentially the multiverse. Spoiler warning, if you haven't seen the episode, let's break it down. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button. And a reminder, a large part of what the Den of Nerds is doing in 2021 and beyond is happening over on our live streaming channel. I mean, seriously, we stream on that channel like 7 days a week. It's pretty crazy, actually. And also, obligatory spoiler warning. If you've somehow stumbled into this video and you didn't watch WandaVision episode 8, maybe you got your numbers confused or something, like, stop watching. We're going to spoil the hell out of WandaVision episode 8. And I should say, too, I know there's all this sort of tension out there about the potential leaks and about the rumors and things going on like that. I am going to touch on some of that stuff out there. I did want to just sort of say, though, as far as episode 8 was concerned, some of the leaks were absolutely correct, especially some of the late entry leaks, but there were a lot of fake leaks out there as well, and there was enough misinformation out there to sort of put this air of mystery around the episode itself. In fact, as we get into this breakdown, let's sort of begin with one of the things that was in many different leaks, but I had interpreted in a completely different way, and this is that Agnes, or Agatha Harkness, was going to be revealed to sort of be a pseudo-psychiatrist taking Wanda through all of her memories and traumas. Now, when I actually read this in the leaks, I had thought maybe before anything was going on in the Hex, they were talking about her being a psychiatrist that Wanda literally went to get some help, and then that's how she tricked her. But that's not what happened, but you can see how someone wrote in the leaks she's going to be sort of like a psychiatrist to Wanda, and you can see how, after seeing the episode, how that would make sense, but it doesn't perfectly translate in leaks. Again, one of the reasons why I just am into this, the stuff, the leak culture and finding out what's going on, but I still thoroughly enjoy watching the episode. And as some of the leaked images have sort of indicated, we have almost a Ghost of Christmas Past sort of thing going on here. Not only do we get Agatha Harkness explaining all sorts of magic to Wanda, we also get an intro scene to the entire show that shows some crazy thing about Agatha Harkness from the Salem witch trials. Not only is she a witch, she's the daughter of some kind of other, like, Scarlet Witch type version, some kind of crowned witch that we're not really too sure about, but she's also seeking forbidden dark knowledge. In fact, I think they refer to it as the darkest kind of magic there is. But, and this is very important, even in the beginning scene, we're not entirely sure how to take this scene. Is she completely evil? Because in those last moments, she seems to plead to her mother that she can be good. Her mother says that she cannot, and then the darkness overtakes everything. So who knows for sure what is going on? But the main point is, Agatha is not the one that set up the Hex. She's not the one that's the villain manipulating Wanda. She merely senses the Hex and all these millions of spells happening simultaneously, and she shows up to investigate. And this whole time that we've seen Agatha, she hasn't been manipulating. She has been trying to figure out what's going on. And we get this super cool scene with Agatha explaining all of the magical spells that Wanda is seemingly doing effortlessly. She's really jealous, and I love the framing of this old powerful witch or magic user being super jealous of Wanda's ability to do all this crazy magic. That's a perfect framing for this type of an event of like a House of M kind of Wanda breaking reality type of thing. Really, really cool. Yeah, then we sort of get into the memories thing where Agatha is going through the traumatic memories of Wanda. And this all starts with an incredibly dark scene where Wanda goes through the trauma of being a child, and we actually see the scene that she explains to Ultron with her brother in the Age of Ultron movie. Now, there's a lot of interesting things in this scene. Many people are breaking this down, guys, and I'm not the craziest expert out there. I'm going to be looking out there online just like you guys. Perhaps someone has already broken down what this all really means. But I found it very interesting that she is talking about a particular episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show that has to do with revealing that the entire episode is a dream. And I also find it interesting that Agatha seems to push Wanda into this dream state reality, and Wanda then actually goes through the trauma. And in the memory scape or whatever's going on there, when Wanda goes to actually interact, she is pulled out of whatever that memory thing is by Agatha Harkness. Now, this will come up later, but some people are starting to realize that this could indicate that even within these dreamlike things, Wanda is able to interact with actual reality. As somebody pointed out in our live stream after this episode aired, this is very similar to what Bran does in the Game of Thrones books, where he goes into a vision back in time, but is so powerful that while he is time traveling, he is able to affect actual reality in the past. Very, very interesting. This is the famous hold the door thing that happens in Game of Thrones. But essentially, the diagnosis from Agatha after this memory is that this is just a traumatized witch protecting herself and her brother. It's nothing too crazy. And so then they go deeper and they go into Hydra, and this is a scene that changes the context for a lot of the MCU and sets up some amazing possibilities in the future. I love that Agatha sort of bags on her for going to this terrorist organization, but then it's funny because the response back is that they wanted to change the world. Again, a very meta idea of her changing reality. And yet again, it does seem like Agatha pushes her into the memory, saying, "You've already lived it once," indicating that she is going through this once again. And in this crazy scene where she walks out, the Mind Stone unlatches from the scepter and comes out in its form right in front of Wanda. And then when she reaches out to touch it, it reveals itself to be the Mind Stone, and she has a vision of what many fans are sure is a either future or multiverse version of herself as the Scarlet Witch. In fact, a lot of fans have taken these images and lightened them up and have noticed that, yes, this clearly looks like the Scarlet Witch uniform or new costume that was leaked months ago that we think Wanda will be wearing at some point in the final episode. Now, what's really wild about this is after this happens, in the footage of this happening, the Mind Stone emits the footage. Either Wanda emits the footage or the Mind Stone emits the footage. They, Hydra, have no idea what actually happened in that moment. And then we get a scene with Vision at the Avengers compound. This is a really interesting scene. It really just shows that in the middle of all of this craziness, Vision and Wanda actually found some common ground and were really these just traumatized beings that found each other in the middle of all this darkness. And it's crazy because you find this like pure moment in the middle of all this trauma, and then of course that gets ripped away from her as well. And Agatha is quick to point out that that is likely what happened and sort of tries to drive Wanda to the trauma, introducing the idea that she wanted to bring Vision back. Then we get a crazy scene at the Sword base, and this shows us what we think is the real version of what Wanda did at the Sword base. It's not what Sword director Hayward had told everybody happened before, where she storms in and steals the body. That's not what happened, and it would appear the footage he showed everybody else was edited footage that he used to literally formulate a lie about Wanda, which I believe we later find out is just so that he can launch a missile at her to hopefully get her powers to be able to then fuel the new Vision that he's building, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The thing that's really crazy about the Hayward scenes is that he lets her in and he seems so comfortable in that setting despite knowing how powerful she is. On top of that, he clearly seems to be wanting her to bring Vision back to life. He seems to be teasing that out and trying to get her to do it. It's crazy. I thought they were going to tease this, but they actually were pretty heavy-handed with it. It seemed like Hayward was obviously also trying to manipulate Wanda. And so then the show culminates when Wanda, grieved, leaves the body of Vision at the Sword base, and we see that she has a letter that was gifted to her by Vision before Vision died, and it is the deed to a old plot of land that once had a house on it in Westview, New Jersey. She goes through the town. We see the real-life versions of all the townspeople. Wanda goes to the plot of land. She walks into the middle of it and literally just has a complete breakdown. This is her sort of House of M moment, and there are a lot of visual similarities to what she does at this moment in the show and what we see in the House of M comic book. It's absolutely insane. Now, the WandaVision breaking and building the whole reality scene culminates with Vision being recreated. This scene is particularly interesting as it might well indicate that Wanda is literally manifesting both Vision and the Mind Stone literally back into reality in this moment. And she does manifest whatever version of Vision that is for the show. We next see sort of a pulled back scene of the studio, and you see in the studio audience Agatha clapping, understanding fully what is going on, and then she disappears. Wanda then goes out into the street, and we see in her true form Agatha Harkness with threads around the children out there, and there's an interaction between her and Wanda. She knows exactly what Wanda is. She calls her a Scarlet Witch. She indicates that she's a being that should be a myth. She wasn't even sure if she was real, if a being like her could exist, someone capable of spontaneously creating reality. Now, it's really, really crazy. A couple of things I want to touch on. There's this whole thing with Pietro not actually being from the Fox X-Men universe. People are really mad about that. I'm going to do a full breakdown video about this because I think it's kind of funny, and I know that people want an explanation. But yeah, I still think it's the Fox Pietro. She says no necromancy, but she says she mind controls, and I think she's indicating that it is a Pietro. We'll talk more about that in a moment because it has to do with other things that I want to talk about. But that's a whole thing that people are mad about online. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Does this episode prove that it's not Pietro at all and that it was just a troll or a nice little Easter egg? Or does this episode still leave it open for that to be the actual Evan Peters Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men films? The other thing, and this is just my personal big theory here, guys, is that this episode really indicates that Nightmare is involved. And not only involved, but probably the thing that is giving Agatha her powers. Because if we really think about what was happening with Wanda, it's very possible that she was put under or put to sleep in some way, and that the whole thing was happening inside Wanda's head. One of the reasons I think this is because it has to do with like the fact that witches use food and different things like that to put people under, and spells like that will often just put people to sleep, right? But there's also this idea that Agatha is pushing Wanda into these dreamlike realities, but Wanda is so powerful she's able to affect realities. Agatha, it seems, is pulling Wanda back from the brink during these kind of interactions. Is that because she knows she's using the power of Nightmare, and she knows if she lets Wanda just mess with these things that are happening in this Nightmare reality, that they could affect real world things, and that's why she keeps pulling her back from the brink? Is that possibly why she has waited this long to use this kind of a power, because she also recognizes what that could do? And then if that's true, what the heck just happened when she reached out and touched the Mind Stone? Was that Wanda in the past that did that? Or was that Wanda from the future being branded into the mind of the past Wanda that then actually reached into the multiverse and broke everything? I don't know, but I think the Nightmare thing is even more convincing to me, and I know many people are going to disagree with that because they now think it just means that Wanda did this all on her own and Agatha is just, coming in and acting this way. I still believe, especially because of the first scene of episode 8 back in Salem, that there's something weird going on with Agatha. Again, her telling her mother in her last moments that she can be good was weird. And then I guess the last crazy thing to talk about is the White Vision. White Vision is back. Hayward using the power of the missile that Wanda transforms and herself brings out of the hex. Very cool. I like how they use that plot point. Yeah, that power fuels the actual body of Vision, creating White Vision, and we see him actually come to life. There's a lot of mystery there. Is that Vision? Is that Ultron? Is that a combination of both of them, or is it a completely new character? Who knows exactly, and will we get some Vision on Vision action? I don't know. Regardless, guys, this episode was insane. I personally really liked it, but I've seen online that not everybody is as crazy about it. Now, the rumor is the final episode will be around 2 hours and will be an insane Marvel movie-esque piece of entertainment. I'm really looking forward to that, but either way, I'm personally loving the show, and I love this episode. So there it is, your breakdown and a little bit of theory, speculation, rumor leaks. Let us know what you think about this in the comment section below, and as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.